Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Roll Down podcast, a Teamfight Tactics podcast. And today, without messing around, we've got one of TFT's greatest players on the podcast ever. But first, before we come to him, I want to come to my co-host, the wonderful Soul. It's so good to see you, as always.
Always a pleasure to be here.
Now, guys, this man is famous for holding rank 1 and rank 2 in the one go, and holding rank 1 in basically every set since TFT's existence. I mean, he's an animal. He's incredible, and we're so pleased that he's joined us today for an episode that we're calling TFT's greatest of all time. That is Mismatch Socks. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Probably a little bit over exaggeration, as I don't think I've been rank 1 set 6.5 yet.
We got plenty of time.
I'm not sure if I was rank 1 every set also, but maybe I'm a little too old. Time to let the newcomers take that title.
There's lots of Zoomers playing TFT now. There's lots of young people that are really good at TFT. They weren't here a few years ago.
Yeah, it was a less competitive field back in the days, but also, I feel like a set 6.5 just came out, and maybe I'll be rank 1 at some point, so it's not too late.
Plenty of time left. I mean, look, to be honest with you guys, we've got a lot to talk about on this episode. This is such a special treat for us, especially as two people that sort of grew their love of TFT by watching Sox's videos on the game and learning how to be competitive in the game from that position. Sox, I want to ask you first of all, where did your love of creating content to help people improve their game come from?
I mean, I don't. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I don't love creating content to help people. It's just, actually, frankly, to say, it's kind of tedious and annoying, and it's not like you don't actually get like that much respect or like reward out of it. I actually don't really make money off of YouTube at all. But I mean, what's the reason why I make content? I don't know. It's just, I mean, like, I feel like it's one of those things where you just leave a mark on, like, leave a mark because, like, and try to help as many people, because why not? It's not like I actually like making content. It's just, I don't know. I feel like, I guess sharing like new ideas is kind of fun sometimes, but for the most part, it's not that great.
Very interesting. Do you think that, like, where do you get your enjoyment from TFT these days then? If it's not from creating the content, is it from streaming? Is it from, like, do you prefer playing on stream, off stream these days?
Oh, I also don't like streaming. Like, I don't like streaming. I don't like streaming. I don't like creating content. Okay, honestly,
Sox, tell us what you do like, Sox. How about that?
No, I like playing TFT. I like playing TFT. I'm good at playing TFT. I enjoy playing, but like everything around it, like all the social media stuff, is super tedious. Actually, I have a few friends who they really want to stream. They're like, "Oh, I'm not very good at games, but I'm very entertaining and I really want to stream." And they ask me, "Do you have any tips?" And I'm like, "Bro, I hate streaming." I don't actually hate streaming. I don't actually hate streaming.
Shit,
But I can only find streaming enjoyable like once in a while, and not something like, to do something like what K through Soju does, where he streams like every day for like 12 hours a day. Is just, oh my god. That's like a nightmare, absolute nightmare.
For us older people, who are sort of in their later 20s, even in their earlier 30s sometimes, I think that sitting down for that long, just thinking about that makes my back hurt. So
I mean, it's not sitting down for me. I can sit down for like 22 hours in a day, no problem. I'll sleep and sitting down, no problem. But it's just like the social media portions of it and like interacting with people. It's really tedious. And I, like, for example, the example I always make is like people used to upload a lot of stuff to like Facebook or like Snapchat or like Instagram, and that shit has always been so tedious for me. I would like never ever upload anything ever at all, right? So
Yeah, I'm also someone that doesn't really do the social media side of things. Like even in my sort of personal life, I don't do Facebook, Instagram, that kind of thing. Is it just it just doesn't feel very rewarding, does it, to be there for so long in your day?
Yeah, a little bit, definitely part of it.
Sol, I want to come to you and ask you a little question now. When we were setting up this episode, you said to me that Socks was,
Hmm.
and I quote, your hero. So,
My TFT hero.
TFT hero. No, real, no, just hero. Just hero is
Hmm.
fine. I want to
Sure.
ask you a little bit about your experience with these kind of analytical videos and
Yeah.
sort of how they helped you improve specifically.
Yeah. I mean, so like when I was first like really getting into the game, which was like around set 3, I think that was when like Socks here had a sort of pretty big presence, I guess, on the scene. Touted as one of the best players. So like that was when I like first found like Socks' like content. And over time, like through his like a lot of his YouTube videos and stuff, through like his TFT Academy videos, I feel like it was like the only one of the only like sources of just sort of objectively analyzing the game, if that makes sense. Like this is like an actual like formula you can follow. Like this is like an actual strategy you can follow that's like effective and actually works, rather than like, oh, just build this comp and buy these units and build these items. So like that like I think helped me a lot in just improving at the game. Um, Looking at the game at a sort of more deeper, like a more deeper sort of fundamental mechanical level, rather than just looking at like as like comps and like essence slot items and stuff like that, basically. So yeah.
Fascinating, very interesting. Socks, I wanna come back to you, and I'd love to know. I know you just sort of said that it's how you feel about creating the content. I'm wondering that now that you're a family man, a man with many different commitments in your life, what your sort of immediate future is looking like when it comes to TFT.
Oh, for content creation, I don't really know at the moment. I am really busy recently. I mean, it's not like I actually don't have time. It's just like um I don't have that much board time, and like basically board time is usually what causes me to create like some TFT content and stuff. Um, but I mean, it's always good to hear stories like so where like my content really helps someone like learn the game properly instead of like following guides and stuff. So that's really like encouraging to hear. Uh, but I don't know me. For content creation, I don't have a super. I mean, I'm definitely gonna be putting out content. I just don't know how much effort I'll be putting into it, right? So.
Yeah, understandable. We've asked sort of all of our questions this basically since we started, because we started the podcast the day before set 6 came out. Your overall feelings on augments and how they've changed the game. Are you happy with the way that they are in 6.5? Did you prefer them in 6.0?
Um, I I mean, I don't know exactly what's causing the what's it called resentment or like disappointment behind set 6.5, especially towards the augment side. I actually think the augments are a lot better, a lot more interesting, a lot more diverse. It's a it's a little bit unfortunate that like the rest of set 6.5 in my opinion is a little bit worse, but I think people are like I don't want to say this exactly, but like I feel like people are like, mimicking Soju a little bit too much. Like Soju at the beginning of the set made a big outcry about how 6.5 wasn't very good. But like now if you ask Soju, my guess is that Soju would like reverse a lot of his answers. And like he doesn't make a rant about that, so it's hard to appreciate it. So now like the viewers like who copy Soju don't realize that Soju has changed his opinions a little bit.
There's no such thing as a positive rant, really, is there? There's no.
I actually
Look how
think
great TFT is now, guys.
Yeah.
there has been, right? There has been. I'm sure there has. Is there not?
I feel like there are way more negative Twitlongers than positive ones, but yeah.
I guess so. You're probably right.
Certainly at the moment. That's very interesting to say. I mean, what are your thoughts specifically on the game at the moment?
Oh, I mean, I haven't played too much CS 6.5. I've definitely played a lot, but not like super, not like definitely in like the bottom 5% to 10% in the competitive players. But I would definitely say that CS 6.5 is like a good set. Um, I think CS 6.5 does uh very well. The very first time in history, like they finally found a way to make three costs very very relevant in the game. And three costs have been like the hardest thing to balance in my opinion about set like TFT in general. It's always been super awkward, but now this set they made them really really powerful, but not more powerful than four cost.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that they feel a lot stronger than set 5.5, which I do feel was sort of a step in the right direction for three costs with
Mhm.
Nidalee, Riven sort of
Yasuo.
units, Yasuo that were very powerful. Could have even been them using that as a tester of those kind of things. So augments are staying around for set 7 in one form or another. How do you feel about augment, like the idea of augments sticking around, Socks?
Oh, I mean, I personally love augments. I'm happy they're sticking around. I know that augments actually make the set significantly less competitive, but that's not something I really mind myself because I actually value a fun set, a fun and interesting set more than a competitive set. In addition, I actually think augments are so good. I wish they would not just reuse them. I wish they would expand on it. So like instead of three augments, I hope they would like maybe do like five augments, one per stage. Like it doesn't. I think there's no downsides of adding more augments, especially since people are already familiar. And then I mean I also think augments are so good. I'm actually stealing them directly into the game I'm creating. So I think they're good.
I'd love to ask you about that. We've got some questions at the end of the episode about it as well, but I'd love sort of in your own words, sort of where this idea came from to start your own game, what you're hoping for to come out of it, what you know what the inspirations are that you're borrowing from, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe we can talk more about it later. Because if I start talking about it, I don't know if I'll stop talking about it. But just
Okay.
for the people who don't know, I'm writing my own auto battler. I mean, when people say they're making their own game, it's like always a little bit sketchy, at least in my mind, because like I'm like, oh, your game probably sucks. But despite that, I have every reason to hope and believe that my game will pop off and be the next big game on Steam.
Hell yeah. Let's
Oh
go.
yeah.
That's exciting. Guys, more on that coming at the later portion of the episode when we can let Socks talk about it for half an hour. Um, we want to talk about the main topic of today's episode really is that there's some big tournaments on the horizon, some massive tournaments, in fact. Obviously, the uh, regional championship events are very close, and we've got somebody who is going to be front and center, you know. So, Socks, I was wondering um, a little bit. We've spoken to a number of different OCE competitors before about preparing for tournaments. I was wondering what your tournament preparation like format is usually like. How much time do you dedicate to the game versus watching the game, but watching replays, that kind of thing?
Yeah. So I mean, I would say, like I said, I'm probably a little bit old now. Let's go. I'm not as competitive as I used to be, but I think in set three and set four, um, I had like a pretty not rigorous tournament prep schedule, but like a fairly not involved either, but just my tournament prep involves like figuring out kind of like a play styles that I want to play. So in set three, um I was not very good at flex playstyle at the time because a flexible playstyles don't exist back then. It was just like stage 3-1 you pick a comp and you follow that comp. So flex playstyle doesn't exist back then. But also set three, I wasn't um well prepared, and I only had about a week and a half to learn the game, and that's because like 2 weeks prior to the event was Twitch Rivals, so I was preparing for that instead. And then during that 2 weeks, I was like, okay, what is the fastest way I can be the best player in the shortest amount of time? And for set three, I realized that the fastest way was just to be like abuse the strongest comp and like one trick it. So at the time, I just one trick Bang Bros all the way to Worlds. It was actually quite a journey. And
Oh, love that comp, man. we're set 3
actually,
enjoyers on this podcast. We're we're
hey, also something controversial. I don't like set 3, but that's off the record.
we're coming back to that. Hold on a second. We'll come
Mhm.
back to that. You keep going, but we're coming back to that.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so in order to prep, I realized I was gonna one trick Bane Bros, and then I prepped one more backup comp in case I can't play Bane Bros. So what's called Bane Bros uses a lot of bow items, so I prepped one comp that uses no bow items, and that comp I chose was what's it called
Mech.
Sork Max. I don't remember what
It's
they
a
used to be
Mech
called.
Victor, right? It's
Yeah,
Mech Victor.
Mech
Yeah,
Victor
yeah,
that
yeah.
uses no bows. So that was like my game plan. And then in order to prepare, I actually watched a lot of Bane Bros, Bane Bros players. The OCE streamer Esha.
Asha.
Actually, I watched a lot of Esha, and you know what? For someone who invented Bane Bros, he was like hot garbage at that comp. Like no cap.
I can't.
He was not
Holy
very
shit.
he was not very good at the comp, was
I
he?
mean,
It's
he
too
was
funny.
good at like when no one knew about it, but like as people actually like learned how to play the comp, he was very bad. Anyways, the one other player who I took so much inspiration from was Dasik. So Dasik actually played a ton of Bane Bros. I don't think a lot of people know that, and he invented the frontline Master E-Tech, which I absolutely abused for the entirety of regionals. So like that was my prep for set 3, and then for my prep for set 4 was I pretty much 2 weeks. I was definitely the best player before set like going to set 4 regionals. It wasn't even close. But in addition to being the best player, I also didn't stream any of my set 4 games, like pretty much like the month before regionals, and and I uh I had like 2 pocket comps. I was called that no one else knew how to play, but I was the only person playing them at the time. I was playing what's it called uh Elderwood, Zaya, and Keeper Zaya, and nobody else played them. And I pulled them out at regionals and absolutely dominated the scenes with those 2 comps.
Elderwood came sort of quite close to the end, like sorry, Keeper's Eye, like it came right towards the end of that set as well. It wasn't a lot of people weren't playing it until kind of a big guide came out about it about 6 weeks before regionals
Yeah, definitely.
by another OCE
But
player. That was
Elderwood,
Raza.
Zaya, not a single person even played it, I think. But I
Mm,
knew that was very strong, and I played it a few times.
fascinating. And how much do you put into sort of watching your gameplay back or watching other high challenger players gameplay? Do you think that that's like one of the most significant parts of preparing for an event?
I mean, my hot take on it is that I think if you want to win the tournament, if you want to actually represent NA, if you care about doing well, watching people is really good. But if you care about winning the whole thing, like getting first or second, um, I mean, I don't even watch people because like, what's the point of like copying someone? Um, Basically, like if you want to actually win the thing and want to have a significant advantage, copying someone is not the way to do it. Like you'll never get any significant advantage by replicating someone. You have to actually come up with all your own unique thoughts for the most part. So I actually do very little prep, but one of my favorite things to do, just as an ego boost, is that like sometimes I'll play really well in a tournament. I'll watch some of my tournament games back, and I'm gonna be like, "Holy fuck, that is insane!" So
God,
yeah, that's about
I'm
it.
so good. I'm so good at this game. I would love to ask you as well a little bit about sort of the people that you are likely to come up against in these kind of events. Aside from not really watching too much TFT or at least in your own words, sort of preferring to look back at your own gameplay. Do you sort of ever take stock of, oh well, I know this guy is only going to play this one comp, or this guy's a really like he plays Mercs all the time, or he plays this all the time, or they play this all the time. Do you put much stock into the other competitors that you're coming up against?
Yeah, I mean, back in the sets, set 3 and like I think recently set 6. I used to prep that kind of data. I just find that it actually doesn't help that much, to be honest.
Interesting.
Like, basically, it wasn't like in set 3. I had essentially hired someone to prepare what every single person played and record them, and then like see what percentage of people played Bane Bros, which was essentially one of my strongest comps. And what the percentage of people played Star Guardians, which was the hardest counter to Bane Bros at the time. And like, with that, I determined like how often I should play Bane Bros, and instead of just like convoluting the whole mess and not actually helping that much. Um, I don't know. I think it's really easy to over prep for tournaments like that as well, especially doing stuff like that doesn't actually help that much. Like instead of doing all that like crap, it's better to just like sleep early and get a good night's rest and like watch a movie before the tournament. You know.
Fascinating. For us, we come from like competitive card game backgrounds. Originally, Sol was a Magic player, and I was a Pokemon card player. So we sort of have a sort of similar understanding about how to prepare for tournaments, that kind of thing. Sol, I would love it if you had any questions for Socks as well to jump in here and ask away.
Yeah, sure. I guess like I guess my probably biggest question is like, so you mentioned that like in set 3 flex playstyle hadn't sort of really existed yet, or like not in its like fully fleshed form. So I guess my question would be like, when did it, I guess, first initially sort of click in terms of like how to properly, I guess, sort of play flex? Like when did sort of like which set, like at which point? Was it like a specific pivotal moment? Was it a build up of like a lot of experiences together? Yeah, that would like be my be like a general question.
I mean, this is a fun question because like I mean, it's hard to define, right? What even is flex is hard to define. I think set 2 was like the first inkling of flex. In my opinion, I think there was two like flex comps to bring up. One of them is Simpsons. Everybody like talks about Simpsons. I don't. Did you guys play back in set 2?
Yes.
I've heard of some since, but the
Okay.
sentiment was that it wasn't that flex. It was just all the units were OP.
Yes. I mean that's
Yeah.
essentially the case too. No,
Yeah.
but like you just basically roll down. You play whatever units you hit. You just put them on your board. You can have 0 synergies on your left side, and your board is still good. And that was the whole like idea. Like, synergies don't matter. Your units mean everything.
Especially like Singed, Amumu, a Tarek. They basically just put them in everything. Like those three were just in every comp. It didn't really matter because they were so strong as legendary units.
Yeah, I
in
mean,
set
okay,
2.
so I think Samsons is like one of the by like the definition of like Uniflex, one of the most Uniflex type of comps. And there was one other comp I want to at least bring up, which no one ever talks about being flex, which is Rangers. I mean, I don't know if how much you guys know about my history, but the reason I was so good at set 2 was because I was essentially I was like rank 1 NA, and I was the only person who had any success with Rangers. And every time I played Rangers, like every single game I played Rangers, if you hit your board, you cannot go lower than second. It's like impossible. It is the board caps out
Mhm.
so high, and it's not even that hard to hit. It's like a bunch of 2-star forecasts and like one copy of like 2 different 5 costs. So
Yeah.
all you have to do is like 2-star your forecast and have like 1 5 cost. Like by modern days, this is trivial. Like everybody can do it, right?
Yep.
Like you want a 2-star Aurelia at fourth, like 2-star Aurelia at like 5-1 doesn't even win you fights anymore. 2-star Aurelia at 4-3 is like the bare minimum if you if you want to expect a top 2, right? Everyone can do it now. But back in set 2, people didn't have that concept. So like people would just only pick up units. Like early game, people would only pick up units that belong in their comp, and like essentially not pick up transitional units that didn't exist, like transitional items that didn't exist, not best in slot that didn't exist. So early in set 2, I like already essentially discovered like how to transition your units because there was no ranger that was cheaper than forecast that was playable. So like transitional units that like that was like that was came out kind of in set 2, but then and then set 3 came out. Set 3 was like the least flexible set of all time. I know you guys like set 3, but I'm sorry to tell you,
Oh no, it was
No, it was not that flexible. No, no, no. It was definitely not that flexible.
I played 81 games of
Yeah.
mech in a row. 81.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I love the set, but yeah, no, that's it was not flexible.
I mean, even when
Yeah.
it was what's called not mech, it was just 3 comps. Like you can only play 3 comps,
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
cybers, like 6
Darkstar.
rebels,
Cyber
like
Rebel
yeah,
and
something like that.
was it
I
Riven?
don't
I
know.
think Stalk Riven. Yeah, yeah,
Sork Riven, yeah, Sork
yeah.
Riven. I don't know. I think the set was a mess. But anyways, Set 4. Okay, set 4 comes out. I'm pretty sure set 4 was the best set possible for flex. Like way better than set 6, because I mean, there was so much advantage of playing flex. The moment you hit a chosen unit, like that calls you to pivot your entire board. So then set 4, like I love set 4. I played it like I'm pretty sure I played it like top 5% playtime of all players. I love set 4. And like every single night I would think about how to like optimize my transitions. Like I would like I would like I don't know. Sometimes I just like watch people play, and I've like in my mind, I'd be like, oh, they can do this and this and this and this and this, and their board will be so much stronger. Like I would backseat in my mind. I wouldn't actually type it out, but I would backseat in my mind. So like that's when I and then Warwick patch came out. Warwick patch came out, and it was the hardest patch to play at first because like this comp is unbeatable. And then I was like, I'm not gonna play any Warwick just as a limit test. And by not playing any Warwick, it really pushed me to the limits of like how to optimize flex. Because if you want to survive in a Warwick meta, you have to learn to play the game properly. AKA like 100 HP at like stage 5-1 is barely scraping a top 4. So like because of Warwick, I learned how to 100 HP at 5-1, which essentially is the birth of flex, right?
Hmm.
So it's because of this like pressure from a comp that everyone else is playing that's very very strong, and like that kind of pressure that like initially causes you to lose. Like by thinking of ways to overcome it, that's how I was able to like discover a lot of these things.
Wow, that's a great
Nice. That's so
answer.
cool.
That is
Yeah.
such a great answer. I want to go very quickly back to set 2 because I started with about 3 weeks of set 2 left, and I first started. I've told this story a little bit on the podcast before, but I watched TFT for a long time in set 2 on stream. I watched your stream, I watched Skara play, and I watched Soju quite a lot. And I remember thinking to myself, man, you know what's really, really good that people just like don't talk about? Rangers. And then the first week that I played Rangers, I went from like unranked to Diamond 4 in like a week of just playing within the last week of the set. And I always remember just like getting into like lobbies with master players and like freaking out. I was like, oh man, these players are so good. Surely they're gonna like contest my like Twitch Ash, or like early, like they're gonna take all my early poison units, and then I'm not gonna be able to hit it. And I basically just one tricked Rangers for the whole like for 2 weeks. Yeah, so let's I want to talk a little bit more about flex. It's really interesting to bring up chosen as a factor because in the early stages of set 4, you could get really strong chosens really early in the game. Like you could hit like 4 cost chosens on like stage 3 pretty consistently, I think, and they had to sort of nerf it back and nerf it back and nerf it back. And 5 cost chosens at like level 8 were a thing for a little while before that as well. So you could sort of play your whole board around going fast 8 and praying to the gods that you hit a chosen 5 cost. I want to know how you feel about playing flexibly in set 6.5 now, though, or even set 6, I suppose.
I mean, I just want to bring up chosen real quick because I mean, you talk about how it's weird. Chosen requires flexibility, but like a lot of times you hit a strong chosen at the beginning of the game, you play around it. At some point, you have to sell it, right?
Yeah,
So like selling it and buying a new chosen, that has to be a flexible decision. I mean, what can you do? Just buy one chosen?
maybe on
Like
the Nidalee patch you probably could.
you probably could in some patches, but like for the most part, like
Yeah.
the reason why chosen so flex is because like you had to start your chosen and play around new chosen. It's not like you had a choice. That's like actually the correct way to play. Everybody, like
Mm.
even if you're hard forcing,
Mhm.
you still probably like, even if you're hard forcing Zed, you probably still have to buy chosen, play around the chosen, then eventually pivot your board, right? Like just that alone, like it's just that simple fact alone shows you like how flexible it is. And
Yeah.
set 6, okay, it has a big problem, which is that playing flexibly is actually quite heavily punished. Like let's just say if I want to win regionals, um, okay, in my opinion, the dominant strategy should be committing your comp by 3-2 every game. Um, and like here's my reasoning why. So basically, all the augments are tailored around your board. So let's just say you decide at the very beginning of the game, I'm going to play Irelia. You slam every item associated with Irelia. Then at 3-2, you roll down your board so that you have like four strikers, like four strikers, two bruisers, right? A very common scenario. When your augment is offered, you have a very high chance of getting an Irelia tailored augment. Because what's it called? That's how augments work. Now, if you do have the
Yeah.
vice versa, let's just say your 3-2 board is just a bunch of flex units. You don't really have much of synergies. You're not really committed. All you're gonna do is you're gonna get offered middle of the pack like augments. Like let's just say you get offered like like Bruiser Heart. You're gonna be like, I don't know about that one. Like basically you're gonna be offered augments that are very non-committal for your comp. And it's not like any of the augments are powerful enough that you want to pivot your entire board like Chosen. So like it heavily encourages you to commit by 3-2. Um, and committing by 3-2 is like never like a truly sign of flex. All the flex patches and flex sets really reward you for like being flex. I would say from stage 1 all the way to stage 4-5.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. A lot of the time, I mean, I know that there's been a lot of discussion about the augments themselves, but they've tried to make the first one sort of truly random. I believe that that's what they really
Yep.
want, and then sort of hyper focus on the units you've got or the game state that you're currently in for the next two. I hadn't ever really thought about the fact that that sort of limits creativity and pivotability and maneuverability of a comp overall. What do you think they could do to make that sort of lessen that strain on a player?
Oh, I don't think. I mean, I don't think this is a problem though, right? It's not. It's not a problem. Like, it's not a problem if it says less flex. I mean, overall, it's still more fun because
Mm,
you have this like exciting decision that that changes your game. But like, it's okay if the set is less flex.
yeah.
Um, so like, I mean, I don't even think it's a problem. It's not like it's not like it's something Riot has to fix.
Mm.
But pretty much everyone who plays tournaments acknowledges that like that's essentially the right way to play.
Hmm. Interesting. I want to sort of focus in a little bit more on regionals now. For those of you who came from Sox's stream, you will have watched him lose to a Warwick 2 on stage 6. So I want to ask you a little bit about the state of the game right now, how you're sort of feeling about the current patch, how it's all shaking up.
I mean, there's things that are broken. Like Warwick 2 is 100% broken. Um, but like the patch is fine. The patch is good. Honestly, I'm pretty sure regionals is gonna be a good time. I mean, hopefully I hit Warwick 2 every single game, but like it's gonna be a good time. I think the patch is fine. I don't think I don't think it's the best patch ever. I don't think it's the worst patch ever. I think it's pretty middle of the pack.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there. A lot of I think the units in this set, a lot of people for the very first, at least in my opinion, for the very first couple of days when everyone was playing Siva or Renata, were sort of hyper focused on the fact that those two units weren't like the most enjoyable units of all time to play. But there's actually some really fun units in this set, and like even if it is not 100% a brand, it's not a brand new set. Of course, they brought back a lot of old favorites, Aurelia, Draven, things like that. I mean, anyone that played older sets will have loved those units. So I think it's nice to have them back.
Yeah, I agree. I think this set has a lot of fun 3-star units. Like Senna, oh my god, Senna's design is so
Mm.
cool. I kind of wished like they made her like maybe like a forecast or something, but like Senna's design is so cool.
So your current thoughts on the patch right now?
Yeah, it's not perfect. It's a long patch as well, but I think for the context of like some big competitive events coming up, a long patch somewhat makes sense. At least like the meta is, going to be somewhat stable. People are going to have time to put in volume. They're going to have time to learn the ins and outs of the patch. They're going to know what's good. So you can't like, competitors can't really complain that they didn't really get enough time to like learn the patch, right? So I think that's good. I think there's like there's a few outliers in terms of like balance that doesn't feel too great. Like we mentioned earlier, 2-star Warwick's a bit strong, but yeah, it's fine. Um, anecdotally in my games, I've been pretty successful just flexing around 80, sometimes flexing around AP. So like the fact that I think that fact that you can succeed with a lot of different forecasts is a good sign, and you can also win with 3 costs as well. So I think that's like a good sign that yeah, I think that's a good sign that the patch is in a decent spot.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think the first couple of days were quite a struggle. I think it's sort of shaped out a little bit now. It's sort of feeling a little bit more open, even if there's like 3 Warwick players in every lobby. But that's okay. There has to be somebody playing the good stuff in every lobby, really. Otherwise, sometimes it better be you. I'd love to sort of keep going on this regionals topic. A lot of good players coming up in the North American regionals. Sucks. I mean, aside from yourself, I won't let you say yourself. Who do you think has a good chance going into into these events?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I haven't watched too many other players. I have a few friends that I have a few friends who I definitely watch a lot. Like I watch a lot of Newbell. I'm pretty sure he's like the biggest Smurf right now. I mean, I don't know how he does it, but like he hasn't touched the game in like 2 months. He comes back and just like starts annihilating everyone. So I'm pretty sure Newbell's gonna pop off. Aside from that, it's actually hard to tell. I wanna like I always want to say Robin because like just I think he's got the I would say like if I had to pick the best tournament player of all time is probably Robin. So I think those two are my two favorites going to the event. And then as for myself, I just want to bring up I don't think I'm in like peak form or anything like that. Also, I have been practicing, but I haven't been practicing that much. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, let's wrap up regionals with a nice final good luck to Socks for being on this episode as well. I want to now get into the other portion of our discussion, which is your game. We
Oh,
we have
sure. We'll
we have left it. We've got the TFT out of the way. TFT is done. We don't have to talk about this game anymore.
I mean,
Um,
I love TFT. I still play it all the time. But actually, TFT is a huge portion of why this game is going to be so hard to finish. Anyways, I
yeah.
mean, so the reason why I'm making a game is because I played a lot of other games outside of TFT. Like I play a ton of Steam games, or at least I used to play a lot of Steam games. Definitely more than almost every single TFT player. And there's just no such thing as a good auto battler in the genre. Like, there's not a single good one. You would think like people could just make a good auto battler, but like no, everyone is just essentially like either copying off of Hearthstone Battlegrounds or directly copying off of TFT. If you play any of the TFT clones, they're awful, and like the Battleground clones and the Battleground itself and Battleground clones are also like pretty underwhelming. I would say just in general. So then I'm also one of in the only like I'm in like a weird position where I'm one of the best TFT players in the world, and I'm also like good enough at programming and to actually make my own game. So I just took a lot of inspiration from like games that I enjoy and just like mashed them all together. So there's this game I used to play as a kid called Amorphous Plus, one of my favorite games of all time. Um, and I'm essentially just using all their unit ideas, and then jamming them into an auto battler. And then the other half of the game is based off of Slay the Spire. So like,
I love that game.
um, yeah, which is another amazing game. Where like you're climbing a dungeon and you get like augments and you can build combos from those. So like essentially just Slay the Spire with like an auto battler system. So like every battle, instead of like playing cards, you just watch the fights happen naturally, and afterwards you get to add a new unit to your team. And essentially you can think of it as like a dungeon crawler TFT. Now
Sounds amazing. Sounds great. I'm in.
yeah I
I'm
mean
in.
yeah I
I'm
mean
already in.
Very cool concept.
it does sound amazing. But the thing is
Mm,
that as people who develop games know, ideas are a dime a dozen. Like
yep.
just because you have a really cool idea, A doesn't mean anyone will buy it, and then B doesn't mean that you can actually make it. Um, so that's where like the second half comes in. Like I think I can actually make this game. Now, I've been working on it for a month, and like there's a lot of things that need to still be worked on, but I've gotten like a decent portion of the game made. And then I've already like done an early demo playtest with some of my friends and some of my like streamer friends, and like pretty much from the feedback, like unanimously across the board, is that this game is like one of the most unique games they've ever played, and they had a lot of fun playing it. So in my opinion, I have like every reason to believe that this game will be fun. And then I'm a little skeptical about like paying my people for like art and paying people for like music and sound, because one, I don't want to talk to people, so that's a huge problem in and itself. And then two, I mean, I don't actually want to sink money into it until I can actually reliably believe I can make money. And then finally, I have one last like piece of like basically ace in the pocket, while I can believe I can make a successful game, is that I mean, I've been like in my free time, I just watch YouTube videos on game dev, and the biggest problem I would say, like the biggest problems that most game developers have is that like there's no easy way to market your game. Like you have to pay so much money, and what's called another thing is that you don't know if there's an audience out there who wants to play your game. So like you would think that it's like it's trivial to like market your game and like to find a target audience for a game, but it's not. And what I have is that I have special privileges, right? Because I have statuses of being like friends with a lot of streamers. Like I can honestly probably ask a lot of like the popular streamers to actually play the game on stream, um, and maybe not even have to pay them, or like pay them a small amount. So like in addition to that, like some of my friends are friends with other streamers, and like if they were willing to like help me out and like ask them on my behalf, have a huge like I have a easy access to actually reach a lot of streamers, um, and that's like a dream situation for most game devs. So like all that combined, it makes me like pretty confident I can make a decent game that could actually sell.
Great. Sol, listen, Sol studied game design and game development at university. So I'm gonna sort of hand over the reins for a minute because I'm sure that in this discussion there's a whole lot that you can glean and would love to
Yeah.
ask Socks about this kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
That's pretty
I mean,
cool. That's pretty cool.
I'll just like immediately say that like legit having that kind of access to just like reach and marketing is like already like half the battle. That is like so huge because like in the game dev world, you can literally make like the perfect game, but like if you can't get it to people, it doesn't matter. Like there are so many like sort of hidden gems out there that like get made and like are just unheard of for like just years and years and years and years. And then they like randomly they'll blow up. Like I think an example, funnily enough, I'm going to bring up is like Among Us. I think that game existed for like 2 years before it was discovered, and it took a lot of special circumstances. It took the fact that there was a pandemic going on that like I think like a few like really big streamers like Disguised Toast and stuff just happened to stumble upon it, and they were already into mafia style games, and then it blew up from there. So like and you know I'm sure the devs who made that game like initially like you know they probably tried to like market their game and get their game out there, but like you know it's not that easy. The market is super saturated. There are so many games being made. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and not just that. Like the other dream scenario is you're making an auto battler, and you are in the auto battler influence. Like, how much more
Yeah.
perfect of a one-to-one match can you get?
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
like,
Yeah, exactly, right?
yeah. So, like, the people who would be interested in the games are the people who are watching Soju streams, are the people who are watching like my streams, are the people who are watching Slay the Spire streams, and like I have access to all those streamers, which is like really insane. This is it's like because of that, I'm like I actually believe in this game, and because I believe in it, I'm willing to put in the effort. If I don't believe in it, or if I have like doubts that this game is gonna be fun, like this game would not be good because I have doubts in myself. But like I have confidence going into it. I have confidence like from the feedback, and this is like really promising.
Hmm. I think funnily enough, like I'm reminded a lot of from this, like I'm reminded a lot of if people are familiar with the Reynad actually. Used to be a Hearthstone streamer, and then he's the I think he's founder and CEO of Temperstorm, which is like an esports team, which is like an esports org. And then he basically like pieced out of streaming to go make his own like deck builder, which is called the Bazaar. And like it's the same thing, right? Like he
Wait,
already
no, but
has
he
his.
no, but he didn't. It was a huge failure, right?
It hasn't been made yet. No, he's still making it, isn't he? No, he has like
No,
infinite
no.
backers, isn't he? Oh, is it?
Oh,
I
does he?
haven't been
Oh, no,
updated
see.
on
Oh,
it.
I don't know, but I thought he. Okay, last time I heard. I don't
Oh,
know
right.
because
Yeah.
last time I
Okay.
heard. No,
Yeah.
the last time I heard, which was like I checked on him like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was called. It had like essentially already failed. Like basically, he could never even get off the ground and never release it
Oh, okay.
because
Oh
like
no,
it
I
wasn't.
okay, because I thought it was still making it. No, because I looked at like update videos a while ago. Okay. Well,
There's
I
no
was just
way.
gonna yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, look.
Also, if you started a project, if you
Yeah.
started a project like 8 years ago, if you started like a project like 8 years ago and you like don't release it in
Yeah,
like
that's
eight
fair.
years,
Okay.
like
I just wanted
like
to bring that up because he did already sort of have that card game sort of following base, and then decided to make a card game. So I mean, okay, let's hope it doesn't. Let's hope your game doesn't go down that line then.
no. His okay. The
Yeah.
number one game devs, especially if you're making a new
Mhm.
game and you're a new game dev, is to do what's called such a scope low, right? Like he
Yeah,
he
that's fair.
he
Yeah.
he tried to do way too much. And if you look at my game has a is like fairly small, very low scope, and then like I'm only releasing like I'm not trying to make a multiplayer game. I'm trying to make a single player game, fairly
Yeah.
small scope. The game's not too complex, so I think it's gonna be a lot different.
I think okay, let's pretend that that last like whole thing didn't even happen. We just scrub it from the post production,
All right,
I
cut
will
this bit
say
out. Cut
that
that bit out.
yeah, we just scrub that whole like part section out. No,
No, I
but I
think
will
it's fine.
say that
No, wait, why not? I think it'll be
I'm
good to bring
joking, I'm
up.
joking.
Oh, I
It's
see,
just a
I
joke,
see.
it's just a joke. I'm just I kid. But no, I think I think like speaking as someone who has sort of who understands the sort of game dev side, that sphere a little bit. I'll say that like I think keeping things simple, right, and just setting your scope really low, getting that proof of concept out first is probably like one of the most important things you can do. Because yeah, as we mentioned, right, if you set your scope way too high, if you try to do it too much, it's basically shooting yourself in the foot. Because then you're just like, oh, but I have to implement this thing and then this thing and then this thing and then yeah, like I think the most important thing is like you just want to get something out there that people can play, people can enjoy, and if there's like if that it can be like successful, that can obviously just build into something bigger, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Since if you study game dev, I don't know how much like
Mhm.
did you try to make your own game? Have you like um
Um, I so basically like the my journey was I did it for like I went to a private college for 2 years and then I went to uni for like a year before I decided that like this isn't really what I want to do. So I kind of never really got around to sort of making my own game, but I worked on a lot of sort of small projects with a lot of other game design students. So I sort of know what that sort of process looks like. So it's a lot of stuff like working with like other programmers, other artists, other designers in my stream. And then when I say stream, I don't mean like, stream, I mean like, discipline wise. Working with a lot of people, right? And then, you like your sort of brainstorm come up with like an idea for a game and then you try to make that game essentially over the course of like 6-8 months or whatever basically. And the games we made were all like fairly small, fairly simple kind of games. I worked on like I helped work on like sort of like it's also kind of auto battlery, not really. It was more like it's kind of like FTL, faster than light, if people know that game.
yeah, I've played a lot
Basically,
of FTL.
yeah, we made
A
like a
huge
really
inspiration
sort
from
of
a game.
We made like a really simple FTL where basically you're just escorting like a convoy of ships. You can buy like different ships. You all have like and I was just in charge of like figuring out like number values and stuff for like damage charts and stuff like that basically. So yeah, so like that's like the extent of like my game dev
I,
knowledge. So Mhm.
honestly, it's one of those things though. Like I would say I've definitely made games and stuff in college as well, but like it's completely different making a game that you care about
For
like
sure.
post college. Like when I was doing college, all the games I made were essentially for school. Like
Yeah.
I would make a game as my final project, and like I cared about it, I enjoyed about it, and I like at the end of the day, I never really cared about it. Like I don't actually like
Yeah.
whether it's fun or not. Who cares, right? Like all I have to do is
Yeah.
just show the professor that hey, I have something. Like this one's different. Like once like Okay, in my opinion, honestly, like once you separate it out from school, like and doing something on your own for no other purpose besides doing it is completely different. So, um,
Yep.
it's I don't think it's quite the same, but I totally understand where you're coming from, and I mean, if you have any more tips from the industry, I mean,
Oh,
I'm
I
kind
mean,
of
yeah, I don't think it's the same for sure. And that's how I knew it wasn't for me. Because like every time like I tried to put pen to paper, I was like, I can't. Like this is just too much work. It's like my brain.
it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, I was looking at my to-do list earlier, like literally like 2 weeks ago. My to-do list was like it was like 100 different items. I'm like, holy fuck,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
can you do
It's
all
just
this?
it's intense.
And then just thinking about animations and like finding sound and like finding art is so overwhelming. It's actually crazy. But then once you start doing it, it's not too bad. I mean, it's pretty bad, but it's like it's not too bad.
Socks, I'd love to
I just
ask you. I'd love to ask you how you're going, uh, sort of melding adult family life with work TFT life.
oh, I mean, okay. So I tried.
I
Okay,
won't report back to your wife. I promise. I'm not gonna. This
no, no,
is
no,
not.
no. So I mean, I do a lot of work for the kid. Anytime, essentially, I'm not
Yeah.
streaming. Anytime I'm not streaming, I'm not working on my game or I'm not playing TFT. I'm with the kids.
Mm.
Also, okay, you know how the thing about kids is that you can take infinite shortcuts. People people don't like to talk about it, and people condemn people who do. But like if you take enough shortcuts with your kid, like it is not that much work. But you gotta be like okay with taking those shortcuts, you know. Like basically, there's a lot of corners you can cut. Like you don't actually have to like um. I would say like my kid is on average like an hour and a half commitment a day. I spend about uh 2 hours on my game a day. I would say around that. I spend about 3 hours on TFT, so that's like 6 hours out of my day. I spend about like 5 hours at work, 6 hours at work. I don't actually work the full 8 hours. Don't tell my boss. So so I mean in total that's like what 11 hours of my day. That's like nothing. And then like sleep for like 8 hours, so that's what 19 hours. Not 5 hours. I literally don't even know do what I don't even know what I do in my those 5 hours. I probably just like watch TikTok, browse Reddit, or go Twitter. Like it's like what do you even do with those time? You know, like basically like I have so much time. And then in addition to that, like I don't really talk to any of my friends. Like that's too much work. So I've always just used the excuse that I have a baby, so like I don't even talk to them. Like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't come over. I have to take care of my kid. So like I have so much time. Like I have so much time.
I'm gonna start using that excuse on all my friends actually, even though I don't have a kid. Sorry guys, kids really messing me around this week. I can't come out.
Exactly.
I love
But
that.
I mean,
Excuse actually sounds so OP. Like
no, no, it's not.
I can't
Honestly,
just
if you break down, like I don't know anyone who's actually truly busy. I mean, my partner is busy, but that's because she doesn't cut corners. Like my partner, like literally, um, she has work. She takes care of the baby. She doesn't cut any corners, and she has no time left. And like, and I feel kind of bad for her. Like she works the full 8 hours a day, even though like nothing's gonna happen if she works less, right? It's not like if she works less she's gonna get fired, or if she's gonna work more she's gonna get paid more. Like there's no pay difference. There's no like you're not gonna get fired. Like what's the big deal, right? And then like the same thing about like taking care of the baby, right? Like she goes above and beyond. Like it's not like he's not gonna remember anything, right? It's like not a big deal. And then just in general, I don't know. I cut
Oh,
corners.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
That's
Also
great.
TFT too. Like, I feel like I feel like you don't have to watch that much. You don't. Like, it's not like you have to be watching like streams 24/7 to get what you need out of it. And then also one of those things is like playing like 10 plus games of TFT doesn't make you better at TFT than playing like 2 games a day. Like it really doesn't, right? So.
I'd love to know what you think that like what makes you get better at TFT? Like what is that thing that makes you a better TFT player?
I mean, isn't it just like concentrated and active thinking? Like whether you want to like watch people's VODs and like actively think, or you want to play your own game but actively think throughout the day, throughout the game. I mean, like So there's a difference between like playing TFT with the YouTube video on, which I do sometimes, and like playing TFT and actually like focusing on the game, right? So just
Hmm.
you can probably only like focus on like 2 or 3 games max, in my opinion, like per day. So
That's
anything
really
more than that
interesting.
is just anything more than that you're kind of just you're just playing for fun.
It's definitely like more about like the quality of the practice than the quantity, right? Like you could like no brain have the Netflix on, play like 20 games and learn literally nothing.
Yeah.
Versus like full focus, full sweat, like 3-4 games and get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
Hmm. I
So
like
I
I
mean, I
like
just
that.
don't. So I just don't think there's really that much of a time issue.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We have a lot of players that listen to us. Of course, I mean there'll be plenty of them that are high level players, good players. But of course, we have a lot of players that listen that are trying to push up the ranks. You know, get from that plat 1 to that diamond 2 to that diamond 3 to that masters, the masters to the grandmasters. When it comes to thinking a little bit about like active thinking and improvement and that kind of thing. What tips do you give to people that are like socks? How do I learn? Like how do I get better? How do I get to be where I want to be in this game?
I think like up until like masters or GM, it's probably just a good idea to focus on like a few comps, like 1 or 2. Don't really try to play flexibly that much. But then afterwards, okay, so then like you're not really trying to discover your own thoughts. Like you're not really trying to make your own innovation up until you have a competent grasp of TFT. So like GM probably. And then after that, um, like for you to make your own innovations, that's a very person to person dependent. Some people like get that from streaming. Like you can watch streams, and then like sometimes like random streamers will just say something, and you'll be like, "Holy shit, that's like a huge revelation." So that one happens a lot. That one happens a lot to me, for example. Or a lot of times, what you can do is you can watch other people, and you can see why their boards are so strong. And sometimes, like just by analyzing why their board is so strong, you discover an insight. So one that uh, happened to me recently was, I mean, this is one of the more like famous ones. So I'll use as an example. Is that I was the one? I would guess I was the person who popularized backline Jace carry in set 6. Like everybody thought backline Jace was trash. I played it like 4 times on stream, like won all 4 games. And I didn't discover this backline Jace tech. It's because I was playing against someone. It was in solo queue. It was non-tam, and this guy he was playing double shiv, death cap Jace, and I was it was us top 2. I played against him 3 times, and his Jace was top DPS all 3 fights, and I was like, huh. And he ended up winning that game very handily because of his decap double shift Jace, and I was like, oh, this has to be like there has to be a reason why this like was so strong. So I tried it myself. Tried to like the first game didn't go that well. Tried a few more times. Like the next few games went a lot better, and I realized like, oh yeah, this shit's broken, like 100% broken. So like innovation doesn't come from yourself. It comes from um random things that you stumble upon usually. But you just have to notice it because it's sometimes hard to notice.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. I like that. You actually, I think the game you played today, you had backline Jace carry as well.
Yeah, but I mean at this point it's not even novelty. Everybody knows backline chase is broken.
Hmm.
Was it I want to quickly bring up since we're on this topic. It was you who first discovered, like, quote unquote, discovered the concept of slow rolling, right? Like, I remember
Yep.
hearing this, like, you tell this story all the way back in, like, set 3.
Yes,
Or I
it
think it
was
was
me.
you were in a game with a friend, and then that friend only, like, was rolling so slowly that, like, and you just told them to buy, like, all the units for the Shredder comp. And then you looked at their board, and everything was 3-starred every single time, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually my partner at the time. I couldn't say it was my partner
That's
because
right,
I think
that's right. Yeah, yeah, dude, yeah.
she didn't want to. But basically, I was trying to get her to TFT, and I was like, okay, if you want to win, just play this one comp. And yes, basically, I told her buy the following 5 units at the time. It was the comp is called Shredder. You only bought Jarvan, Zaya. I don't remember, but there was only
It was just
five
Jarvan and
units.
Zaya.
Yeah.
No, Jarvan's.
It
Then
was
there's a whole
Zaya,
comp around it.
Shen, Rakan, yeah,
Shen
Caitlyn,
Rakan, Caitlyn. Yes,
yeah,
yes. You only
Caitlyn,
buy
yeah.
those 5 units. Oh, you only buy those 5 units, and how you're supposed to play was you hyper roll at 3-1, and you only buy those 5 units. You roll down like 80 gold, and you 3-star everything. That was the theory behind it. Now you never actually 3-starred anything. You always had them 2-starred. You never actually like you literally just you never 3-starred them, and you 3-starred them at like stage 4, right? Everybody kind of accepted that's how it was played. But yeah, when I was coaching her, she was rolling so slowly. She had like 80 gold, and by the time the timer was up, she had 60 gold left. I'm like, how the fuck are you so slow rolling? but to be fair, like, do you guys remember your first game of set 6? Like how hard it was to actually like look at units.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
it was
I do.
you were playing so slowly.
Yep.
But yeah, but it was the fact that like sometimes like the inspiration comes from really weird places, right? Like because my partner would roll so slowly, she made a discovery where like if you slow rolled above 50 gold, the chances of you hitting is so much higher than if you hyper rolled. Later, actually, uh, even though I found this innovation, later I told other people about it and nobody believed me. Actually, like for the first week, every single person still hyper rolled. And then I was like, oh, you know what? Fuck it. I'll do some math on this because I'm a programmer. I can mathematically prove that this is slow rolling is better. I wrote up a program to do it. Still, nobody believed me. It was like only when like a few like popular streamers started catching on, like Q and like G.O.A.T started doing it. Like basically, like streamers started doing it, then everybody started doing it. So like, do people actually care about getting good? Not really. It's like the majority of players you play against just copy the streamers. Um, so it really depends on how fast streamers pick it up. Like that's before you have that. That's like the time you still have an edge before streamers pick it up.
It's a very streamer-led community, TFT, of course. As you've spoken about already, Socks. Like the sort of the pyramid of TFT goes from like Soju complaining all the way, like it just sort of like goes down and down and down the levels of the pyramid until you
The
get
trickle down effect.
the
Yes,
trickle
yeah.
down, exactly. So as we just see in chat there, that's why the ladder is so hard when Soju is good at the game.
It is true. It is
Because
true.
then everybody's level goes up like average 200 LP all of a sudden.
Yeah, it is true. You're absolutely not wrong. Absolutely not wrong. But you know, I don't know. To be honest, I'm a little. It's one of those things where like I'm always skeptical. I mean, I'm not skeptical, but it's always weird to me that like people haven't discovered it first. Like it's so obvious now that you talk about it. Like if you were to go back in time, you were to go back in time. Basically, what I'm trying to say is like it is so obvious to us, but like how was it so not obvious back when we were like babies? You know, like in set one. But in set one, I don't know if you guys play set one, but in set one,
Played that one.
okay, the most powerful comp in the game was called voice hints.
Yes.
And it's essentially you roll for the same type of units as Shredder. You roll for 1 cost and 2 costs. And every single person who plays set one hyper rolled it down to 0 at stage 3-1. But if you were to go back to set one and you slow rolled, you would literally never bottom for a game ever. You
You would
probably
never
top.
lose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you would never lose. You would probably
You
top
would
tier
never
every single
lose. You would never
game.
lose. Yeah.
Yeah, like the only reason why Voices possibly lost, like it was the only reason why it would ever bottom four was because people don't hit the 3-star Cassidans. But like if you slow rolled, you always hit your Cassidin. Like if you could go back in time, you would be the greatest player of all time. Like it's not even close. But the knowledge you have today.
I think a lot of it is to do with like familiarity, and once like a strategy becomes sort of popular, as long as it like has some kind of success, a lot of people sort of fixate on that success, and they're like, well, this was good before, I'm gonna keep doing the thing that was good instead of looking at this new strategy that might be better, right? They might be like, oh, this new strategy might be better, but it's unproven, so I'm just gonna keep doing the thing that had success before, even though
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very
because like
interesting.
I mean,
Oh, sorry, you go, David.
oh, I was gonna say, because like with hyper rolling, right? Like that was just the established like reroll strategy back then, all the way back at set one, when like people barely even understood how to properly play TFT, right? Like everything was so new. So like like all the streamers were doing it, like everyone around you is like playing like this. So you want to conform, right? You want to. It's almost like a psychology thing as well to an extent, where like this is what everyone does, therefore I'm also gonna do what everyone does because it supposedly works. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I kind of agree for the most part.
And I mean, these kind of things even happen. Like, I mean, I'll use like comps as an example as well. Like, if you went back to like before you knew that Chugbug was like gonna be good, or like be really good for sort of the latter half of set 5.5. Like, and if you started in like week 2 or like week 1 of 5.5, and you thought to yourself, man, like these Dawnbringer units are really good. Why don't I just like slow roll for the really good one cost Dawnbringer units and go from there? So I think there's a lot of sort of crossover with sort of comps as well that sort of come out of the woodwork the later that games go in.
Actually, I mean, I kind of disagree with that. For one, I actually tried to chug bug a few times, and it wasn't good. It was only good because everything else got nerfed. Like when like the strongest comp gets nerfed for like 30%, then yeah, other comps can emerge. I actually don't think I think innovation doesn't happen that often. It does sometimes, but for the most part, the established comps are the strongest comps for the most part.
Hmm. Do you think that has quite a lot to do with sort of the way the game is at the moment as well? There's sort of a
Um,
lot of trickle down
no, it's
of
just
the good.
because basically it's really hard to uh I don't know, like hide a comp. Let's just say you have a comp that does really well, okay? And you are a really good player, and let's just say you climb to rank 1 with the comp. The chances are the comp is going to be discovered. And let's just say you're nobody, you don't what's it called, you don't stream. You're really good at the game, and let's just say you slow roll every game, and you hit all your 3-star units. No one's gonna know, right? Like if I didn't popularize slow rolling, we might still be hyper rolling to this day because it's hard to tell. It's hard, like basically comps are one of those things that's easy to tell. Oh, why's my camera all blurry? Okay, but it's easy to tell, like if a comp is strong, but it's hard to tell if a strategy is strong. Because how do you know? Like, how do you know the person's doing the strategy?
Hmm.
So I think I don't think it's that comparable, to be honest.
Mhm.
And TFT is a very quickly, like quote unquote solved game. You know, the second that a set drops on a PBE, all of a sudden there's thousands of people in there trying to figure out the most broken combos of units and how this unit interacts with this unit and so on. So you know, you get the TF Tactics website comes out with like a tier, like a day one tier list of the comps with the best win rates on PBE day one and those kind of things. So we're in a much more solved state of TFT now than we were in previously. Oh, we've lost Soul for a
My
minute
camera's
there.
being weird. My camera's just
Okay,
being really weird.
that's okay. We can
It's
keep going along.
you can just keep trucking it along. It's yeah. I'm trying to fix it.
He's back. He
Yeah.
is kind of
It
back.
was just being weird. All right, cool.
So
I need a new camera.
new camera. Yeah.
I need a new camera.
Okay. So I think we've probably talked a pretty solid amount about all this kind of thing. I want the guys and girls and anybody in chat to feel free to ask some questions. This is sort of the question segment of our show, so I
Okay,
hand things
yeah,
over.
perfect. Because let me go ahead and also just use the bathroom real quick.
No problem.
Yeah, no problem.
So I'll be right back.
So, guys,
Good.
when Sox gets back, we'll hand things over to Sol, and he'll ask some questions to us. And if you guys have any questions for myself and Sol, or especially for our guest Sox, you know, feel free to get them in now while we've got a chance. And of course, if you are here, thank you so much for being here. I will very quickly shout out everybody who followed since we started. That is Mr. Jack, Fail, Lol, Sexy Asian V, Proto Uwu, Rice Master 777, Star Alpha, Penguin Logistics, Wololo, Falcon Pro, Slip and Bug, Coon 3 TFT, and Hail Hydra Keck. Thank you all so much for following. Guys, we do this every week. We were supposed to do this every fortnight, but we can't stop booking every week. So you will mostly
Just weekly
see...
now.
Yeah, we're basically just a weekly podcast
We're
at this
weekly.
point. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for being here. All right, welcome back. Thank
Well,
you so much for everybody for being here. So we are going to sort of get towards
Oh.
the question time.
All right.
I was just reading some of the comments actually in the chat. Some people were saying set 4.5 when Keeper Zaya wasn't discovered till the end of the set, or when Ari Vanguard Mystic was only discovered. I mean, the problem is that Keepers actually got buffed like the week before they got discovered. They got buffed from lasting like 6 seconds to lasting like variable seconds, scaling with the number of keepers. Usually the average increase was like 4 second increase and stuff like. And Ari Vanguard Mystic got buffed because Nico like got a huge buff. Isn't that unfair to say like it got discovered because the units got buffed? I don't know.
I think the keepers patch, there was five of the 7 keepers got buffed, I think, on that one patch. Not like by a massive amount, but I'm pretty sure like Zaya, Rakan, Kennen,
Yeah.
all
I think it goes.
got buffed.
I think it goes both ways, right? Sorry,
I mean,
just
even
wanna
then, I
interject a
don't
bit.
like the examples like that. The
Mm.
only one time that you can say that a comp, at least in my opinion, the only one time that a comp has been OP for like I would say like several months before it got discovered. The only time I can only remember this in my memory was set 2 Six Shadows was never touched the entire set. In fact, all the units repeatedly got nerfed. Six Shadows got nerfed repeatedly, and then someone comes out of nowhere and plays the comp, and the comp is the strongest comp in the game. Like that's been in the game for like 2 months without getting like buffed, right? So that's the only time I can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say
Interesting.
that like due to just the nature of the game, the fact that there are so many people playing, there's so much data out there. It's very rare for a comp to just like that's actually good to just go undiscovered. Where like, but I think that like yes, comps do like come out of like quote unquote nowhere. That weren't played before, like using the examples of like Vanguard Mystic Ari, Keeper Zaya, but those are usually in the context of other sort of pieces of the puzzle moving or changing that allow them to sort of come out of hiding essentially. Yeah. All right, cool. So without further ado, we can get to the Q&A part of the pod. So we'll start with a question from Murray in the chat. Shout out to Murray Cod. How would socks improve 0.5 sets? So talking about mid sets here. I personally find 0.5 set getting burnt out is easy and result of fucking around. I find 6.5 to be most boring for me due to all the reprints. I was pulling out my hair when I found out Draven was reprinted and has been in half the sets of TFT.
God, this is a hard question. What the hell? I'm not a designer. I don't know what makes a set 4.5 set fun. I think 0.5 sets will always be on fun for people like Murray. It's a little unfortunate. It's not like they can actually make a whole new set. They would like really need to shake up the mechanics, like the fundamental mechanics a lot, in order to make it like a super fresh half set. And I just don't think they have the capabilities of doing that. In addition, like it's the same mechanic. It's also like pretty much like 75% of the same units. So they're not going to swap out most of the units. They're not going to swap out the mechanic. It's like pretty reasonable that you be burnt out from sets, 0.5 sets. But like also 0.5 sets are usually the sets that most people play competitive on. So like it kind of sucks that everyone has to play it. So I mean, what's it called? Would I rather play a 0.6 set, a 0.0 set, or 0.5 set? I'd rather play a 0.0 set.
It's interesting because
Cool.
they included 0.5 sets in their like design plans, coming up to 3.5, etc. I mean, they started sort of very slowly. Like they added a couple units in set 1, they added a couple units in set 2, that kind of thing. So I mean, yeah, they don't have the time. Like set 5.5 was like quite, like they just added like one big trait and a couple of new units because they were focusing so hard on set 6. So I think that they have to sort of trickle out smaller changes for 0.5 sets to make them different, a new experience, but not like they're not prioritizing a 0.5 expansion over like preparing for set 7. Like, you know, they're putting infinitely more time into a 0.0 set than a 0.5.
I think it's
So,
just a necessary evil, right?
yeah.
I mean, like, what can you do? Like, with the amount of developers, it's not like you can pump out a new set every 3 months, right?
Mm.
Yeah,
It's still a very small team, of course.
it is.
I think it's just I think it's I mean it's just like it is what it is. It sucks. Everybody acknowledges it sucks, but like it is whatever. Like I think I think it's better than having trickle content like they did in set 1. I thought that was really like not that interesting. I much prefer the set 5.5 sets on how to create new content.
Hmm.
Alright. Cool. This question comes from Hail Hydra in the chat. Do you feel like quote unquote play flex is a much overused device now given to lower elo players? I feel like I hear it too much and it doesn't apply to every set necessarily.
I don't know. If I went to a lower elo player, no, it's obviously a little bit. It's a little bit hard to say because like I can't just like put myself in a lower elo player's shoes. But if I was a lower elo player and I heard the advice play flex, if I were to give him the idea of play flex, it's just more or less if you're trying to enjoy the game, if you're not like super like anal about your rank, I would play the game without following like one of those guide overlays. So you know how there's those guide overlays that tells you exactly what 8 units you should have here in comp and what items you should build for those 8 units, or like maybe like going on tactics style tools and looking at what augments has the highest win rate and picking out the augments based off the highest win rate. That's essentially what I mean by when I say tell a lower elo player play flex, because like a lower elo player like I mean this is obviously kind of offensive, but like no offense, like your rank and your skill level really doesn't matter. It's not like by climbing to like platinum, suddenly like people are gonna be like, oh shit, XX Dark Knight Lord XX is an amazing player. Like your rank doesn't matter. Like it's just for your own self improvement. And I think that for low elo players, they should like not fixate so much on rank and focus on just enjoyment. Now, at some point, um, you're playing a game for a while, you're probably like thinking of getting like somewhat serious. That's the point where you no longer even need a guide. Like you don't need overlays and stuff. Like you don't need overlays. You probably don't need like tactics style tools, but like I guess rank 1 NA begs to differ. Is a joke, but like the point is that like at the point where like you play the game because you're serious, you probably don't even need to like follow guide. And that's what I mean by that's what I would assume you mean by playing flex. But also because as before playing flex was invented, playing flex actually had some meaning back in the good old days. Like because people actually only bought like 15 units in the game. Now like playing flex is everyone's standard. Like even like silver gold players, I have a few friends who are silver gold. Even they play flex. Like even they know how to transition units. They know how to build like temporary items. They have like temporary item holders. They buy like half the units in the game. Like even they're pretty good now.
Socks, I'd love to ask you a little bit about like tactics.tools, that kind of thing. We had Asa on the podcast last week. He talked a lot about how he values that sort of data set that he finds on those kind of websites. How do you feel about that sort of style of play?
I mean, it's very valuable. There's obviously nothing to just you can't just say it's not valuable. It's very valuable. But the thing is that like let's just say you go to tactics stock tools, okay? It's 1-4, and you offer the choice between cybernetic shell, cybernetic, um, cybernetics, and your cyber and what's the last one? Cyber shell, cybernetics, and cyber. What's the last one?
Uplink. Cyber uplink.
Oh, cyber uplink. Like which one do you
Cyber
take,
uplink.
right? It's not so obvious. Again, that scenario maybe just reserved to tactics stock tools and stuff. Right? Like it's not so obvious because like you don't know which one's stronger at 1-4. But at 3-3, I think you can probably make an informed decision. Like without looking at the data, you can probably decide which one's stronger based on your board. Now, like how can you actually make that decision is a little bit harder. It's a little bit more involved. But that's like essentially what most people means by like playing flex, like by not by like utilizing your brain, you can probably make a decision on which of the three cybers is strongest.
Thingy.
Now, which one is the strongest? I don't even know. Now I'm thinking about it.
All right, hold on a
I think
second.
it's contextual, isn't it?
Tactics.tools. Hold on.
No, but at 1-4, let's just say you had to pick
Oh,
one
at
at
1-4?
1-4, where like
Wasn't
context matters a little bit.
Yeah.
I think last time I checked was
Well,
Cyber Shell,
yeah.
but
Is that armor? I
Okay.
feel like it would be armor.
Well, armor's probably the most flexible, right? Like, because the other two, like, you have to play a specific tree. If you take regular cyber, you're probably playing AD. Blink, you're probably playing AP of some kind, right? It feels like.
yeah, probably. But it's interesting to think about, right? Like why?
Yeah.
I mean, it is hard to say which one's the strongest. But also keep in mind that there's a huge problem with these tools is that like they try to filter it by rank as much as possible, but like at the very end of the day, it's still based on like mostly like lower level players. So like
Yeah.
let's just say sure, like I'm pretty sure So Small has one of the highest win rates and one of the highest like top 4 rates in the game, and like I would still never take So Small because like I know that at the end of the day, So Small is kind of a gimp for the newer players because like So Small has a relatively low skill cap. So like if you pick So Small, yeah, like you're probably gonna do pretty well in like a Masters lobby. And another thing I want to say about win rates is that they're often not indicative of how strong a unit actually is. Like for the last 2 weeks, Silver has like a 4.8 or 5.0 average on meta TFT and tactics.tools. And now everyone knows Silver's broken, right? Everyone knows Silver's like one of the strongest units. But like at the time, if you look at Silver's win rate, it's like awful. But sure, obviously Silver's climbed a lot since then. Silver's win rate like is now like 4 point, what is it, like 4.5, 4.6. But like a lot of the reasons why Silver is not good is because people didn't know how to properly play her, right? So I feel like it's a little contextual.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
What is Silver's win rate? Oh, she's one of the highest now. Well, not one of the highest, but she's like middle of the pack.
She's back up there.
She's just climbed 0.6% in the last 2 weeks. Okay.
What changed? I haven't played in like a week. So what changed with Civil? I'm actually curious.
Oh, everybody was bitching about Silver. I mean, obviously she got a huge buff, so that was part of it. But also because for no reason at all, people were playing it's called Rageblade Shiv QSS Silver. But like, I mean, if you want Silver to do damage, you just play IE Last Whisper, right?
Oh, I was about to say, is the tech to just play her as a AD carry as intended?
Also, like, and the thing is that people always tunneled on Silver as in 6 hex tech, but you can play like no synergy Silver. That's why she's so strong too. She's just like she's just like one of the highest DPS carries. If you have any sort of front line at all, so like you can play like 4 Vanguard. You can play 4. It's not Vanguards, are they? 4 Bodyguard Silver. You can play.
There are always Vanguards in my heart. Stocks.
You can play like 0. You can play 4 Bruiser Silver with 0 like hex techs. Basically, like people used to play like 6 hex tech Silver or bust. Okay, and now no one plays 6 hex tech Silver except you hit it really early.
Yeah, you can play. You play Socialite Silver like better with the
maybe not
flat
Socialite.
AD.
Oh, maybe not Socialite. The reason why not
That's
Socialite
where the
is because
Aurelia goes.
yeah, that's where the Aurelia goes. Yes.
Nice. All right. Cool. Let's all right. Let's grab one of our sort of pre-prepared questions. Yeah, we'll do one of our pre-prepared questions. So, let's do this one. This one's for all of us, I guess. Upon seeing so many twitlongers from high-profile members of the community, the person initially asking this question says, "I have been less excited and interested in the game. Do you think that there is a better way to talk about the state of the game, or is this the best way to sort of gather attention?"
I mean, okay, I no flame, but like I'm pretty sure Soju put out his twitlonger way too early. Like it was like the second day of the set or maybe third day of the set. He comes out with a huge paragraph how 6.5 is not balanced and how like the game's not fun because the game's not balanced. okay, maybe not no flame, but like low flame. Isn't that a little too early? Like all the other sets took a while. I feel like mine is set 6 launch. 6 launch was pretty good, I think. But like the point is that like if you don't give like right even a week to like patch the game, and you're releasing it to longer how the game sucks, then yeah, people are gonna like jump on the bandwagon. But like in reality, the game is actually okay after the patch. Like the first week after the patch, if you ask Soju the exact same questions, I think he'll be okay with it. Like he wouldn't hate it so much.
Yeah, it was too early. It came before the B patch. You're only allowed to tweet if the game sucks after a B patch when they fix the broken
Well,
stuff.
no, I mean it's not allowed. You can
No,
you're obviously allowed to.
but it
You're
is.
obviously
It
allowed
was
to
a bit
tweet.
early. I agree with you. It was quite early on in
No,
the
but the
like
thing is that like is you can't stop what people feel, right? Like
yeah.
obviously if they don't enjoy the game for the first few days, it kind of sucks. So he's entitled to like tweet longer and stuff. But I'm a little sad that it affected the player count so heavily because I think it did. But yeah.
Hmm. I think it's a good way to gather like community opinion, really, because I mean, where does all the TFT discussion take place? It takes place on Twitch and on Twitter. So if you're trying to have a discussion with somebody about the state of TFT in a Soju stream with 20,000 people spamming Twitch emotes, you're not really going to get like a here's what I actually think of the game. You're probably going to get, man, this game fucking sucks, dude. Like spammed like 4,000 times. Um, so Twitter is like a better place to express like why or where the problems you have with the set are. But you know, if you're like the game devs are like lazy assholes, that like I don't agree with that kind of stuff. You know, like I don't think that's fair. Like you don't
I think I think
keep
a tweet
keep
longer
it
is
about the
fine.
game.
I think tweet longer is fine as a format. I wrote a tweet longer about Set 5 because Set 5 sucks.
Yep.
But I'm just saying that I
Yeah.
think Soju could have waited a little bit on his tweet longer to see if he still feels the same after a B patch. But yeah, I think
Hmm.
tweet longer is totally fine. I think tweet longers. I actually love reading tweet longers, especially when I'm using it in the bathroom. Tweet longers are goodness.
Socks, what are your thoughts about the? We haven't actually talked about this. Everybody that we've had on since it sort of happened, we talked to Acer about this, like the tournament format. I was wondering if you had any thoughts on the current TFT tournament format.
Oh yeah, I forgot we're supposed to talk about that at some point. But what's it called? I saw like Ramcap's tweet longer and stuff. I don't really agree with Ramcap's tweet longer. It's not like I fundamentally disagree. It's just like his solutions on fixing tournaments and like having more games, having less variance, isn't really what I think TFT tournaments are about. This is very controversial, so obviously maybe take it with a grain of salt. But and it's probably because I'm not like super competitive anymore. Like back in the days, if I got like back in like set 3, set 4 days, if I like bumped out a tournament because of variance, I'd be really upset. But now like I'm not too upset. And it's probably because I'm a little jaded. But anyways, my point is that nobody watches TFT because of like they're trying to watch like 8 games where like people are trying to prove their skills. Like it sounds that's what people say they want. That's what people like would agree. But like people will like watch for like their favorite streamers and hype moments. And
Mm.
like essentially, if you want the TFT scene to grow, the only way for it to actually grow is to if the viewers go up, and the viewer only way for viewers to go up is if they introduce more like exciting formats like the checkmate format again. Now, obviously, as a competitor, the checkmate format is kind of sus and like it was really stressful. But as a viewer, I like every time there's a checkmate format, I get a lot more invested into the game. Um, for the checkmate format, and then obviously for like the big tournaments, it's like it's really bad if the big TFT players don't show up. Like for the EU tournaments, I essentially only watch a few of the EU players that like I know and I follow. Same for like OCE tournaments. Like you know, I'm not like it's a. I'm sure there's a lot of talented OCE players. I mean, you guys play on the OCE server, but like
Mhm.
like usually I watch the OCE players to check how my boys King, my boy Esha are doing. I don't really care about who's like you know
Yeah.
like the like it's not like an insult or anything like that. And same for like fans of NA. If you, in my opinion, if we really want TFT to grow, basically we need to continue to like promote like uh stories, promote players. Like Soju shouldn't have to fucking play to for the NA regionals. I mean, he should, but like sure should like if he doesn't qualify, he's just got a ticket to the NA regionals, right? Like how otherwise how does the TFT scene even grow? Like I don't know. And then I don't know. And then also the thing about TFT is that right now there's a lot of tournaments that don't matter. Like you have to play in them. They're not fun. Um, and like it just feels like uh there's so many tournaments that like nobody really watches. People don't care because there's nothing at stake. There's like nothing at stakes. And like one way to increase the stakes is to have like money. Like another way to have stakes is just like maybe make the tournaments like less frequent, but it having like direct qualifiers to regionals and stuff. So like the most recent tournament was really fun to watch, at least for me, because it has 2 direct spots to regionals, and then like Soju was able to directly qualify because of those 2 spots. Now all the other tournaments that came before this, at least in the NA format, like had no bearing. They were completely pointless, and like they were really fun to. They were not fun to play. They were not fun to watch.
Yeah, and they, that tournament, the most recent tournament as well with Soju, players actually had to, like, if some guy went 6th on the last game, he may not have made it overall. If one guy went 5th, he may not have been able to make it overall. Like, that's exciting. That's exciting for viewers to watch, like, it really comes down to, like, individual skill in a couple of games to determine whether or not you're going to make the second biggest tournament of the year. So how do we make that exciting for the other 4 months of a set where we actually have to watch people play TFT tournaments for $100 that they don't want to play?
Yeah, I think okay. That's my take on it. I think what's called ramp like other people's complaints like variance and stuff. Those are all like sure they're valid in their own rights. I don't think it's the root problem at all. Like if anything, lower variant, like higher variance is better because higher variance is more fun for the viewers to watch. If anything, it's kind of stupid, but like that's the way it is. It's not like you played like 5 games of 5 football games at the Super Bowl just to find out who's the best football team. Nobody cares about who the actual best super team is. No, like nobody cares. Everybody just wants to have a high stake game that's fun to watch.
Yes, agreed.
I think I'll definitely say that like I'm with the whole like getting sort of following like building storylines like TFT personalities and all that stuff. I think I'm reminded a lot of I'm not gonna talk about it too much because it's a little bit it's a completely different game, but I'm reminded a lot about sort of Hearthstone in its heyday. It's like its competitive scene in its heyday when it's like there were a lot of popular Hearthstone streamers playing, and the viewership was sort of at an all-time high because all the viewers are invested in their specific streamers, and that in itself allowed up and comers to also sort of get the spotlight as well, because like when an up and coming player plays against like a popular streamer and they beat them, then all of a sudden players kind of want to check this guy out. They kind of want to see who he is. But then once sort of a lot of the streamers sort of stopped playing competitively, once it sort of just like became mostly just like unknown, relatively like not very known names, and people were just like, then the viewership started like sort of dropping off. People were a lot less interested, right? So I feel like it's kind of a similar thing in TFT where like if the lobby is just 8 people you've literally never heard of, no one really wants to watch it. But if like half the lobby is like like Soju, Kiyun, Robin, these like big names, and then the other half are these up and coming players, well, all of a sudden these up and coming players do really well. You're like, oh, holy shit, this guy is probably really good. He beat, Soju, Kiyun, Robin. I watch these guys all the time. I'm gonna check this guy out. I want to see who he is, or he or she is. And then I think that sort of helps to really sort of get the viewership going and really sort of get players invested. I feel like, but yeah.
Agreed. Agree on that one.
All right. I'm gonna go back a little bit. Gonna try and probably do this one quickly. A question again from Hell Hydra. What are the most common mistakes you see low challenger players make?
Oh man, this is some loaded questions.
This is a
It's
loaded
hard
question.
because it's hard because you can't just answer this It's hard to say, just give a blanket statement like you're a low challenger because you must be good, but you're a low challenger because you must be bad somewhere. And like, what are you? What are you good at? What are you bad at? I have no idea. But if I were to guess, most people who are stuck in low challenger, I can only say from like the other like low challenger friends I have and like I watch, it's because um I don't want to name names, but like there's a few like guys who are low challengerish, but like they play mostly to have fun and to enjoy themselves and not try to learn too much between each game, or they make mistakes that like sometimes the chat points out, and then they have no backseating tag on, where like or like basically they don't want to be backseated. Basically, often some really easy ways to improve your game from low challenger to like at least like mid to high challenger. Um, they're not really obvious if you don't uh either if you're not really receptive to changing those things, or if you're not like comfortable or like getting like help from other people. And then also something that's very important is that there's a lot of these habits that a lot of people are it's really hard for a lot of people to break out of. Now like also I obviously can't say for you personally, but like I watch low challengers play, and it's really hard for them to roll a 7 and like try to stabilize 7. And sometimes the correct play is actually stay level 7 the entire game, trying to roll for your 2-star forecast. Like people do it all the time. Like just in the recent tournament, Newbell rolled a 7 for pretty much the entire game.
Yeah.
Robin rolls a 7 for pretty much the entire game sometimes. Like literally never go 8. Level 7, try to 2-star your forecast. And like low challengers will never be able to have the balls to do it. Not because like they don't recognize it's the correct play, just because it's because they don't even consider that even once.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think
a scary
I
play. It's
I've
a
definitely
scary
noticed
play.
that leak a lot. Yeah, I've noticed that leak a lot where like people like a lot of low Charlie players just refuse to accept that like you're playing for sixth or you're playing for fifth, and like they'll just like they're like no, I have to fast eight, I have to hit my entire board, and no, sometimes you just don't have those resources, and you need to play for like a fifth or sixth, and sometimes. Sometimes it's not even a fifth or sixth. Sometimes you high roll and it's a fourth, and you manage to get a fourth or even a third, just completely donkey rolling at level 7. So yeah, for sure.
As like someone who broke out of kind of being a low sort of like a GM low challenger kind of player who sort of improved to get towards like 4-digit LP, like getting 4-digit LP was like the thing for me that was like, okay, I feel like I'm probably like that was where I like feel like I crossed the threshold to being like good, really. I didn't really feel like it until then. I guess I'll just give a very quick example of like my personal experience. I like had friends sitting call with me for like weeks at a time. Like every game I was playing, they would like talk me through like what they thought the best play was. They were similar skill level to me, masters players, GM players, challenger players, high like very high elo players sometimes. But they're just, they're like, hey, I do this here, and I go, well, I would do this here, and then you say, well, why would you do that? I think being able to bounce off of somebody is a very underrated aspect of TFT. And it's actually a really good cause for personal improvement as well. That was my experience going from a kind of like a 300 LP Andy to like a trying to go for a 1K LP kind of consistently. Yeah.
That's good. All right, one last question, and then we'll probably wrap it up. This one's for Socks. Going back to your TFT history, yeah, this one's kind of hard. Going back to your TFT history, what is your proudest moment as a player?
Oh, God, this is hard.
Yeah.
Proudest moment? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's some. What's it called? My favorite set was set 4. Um, I think I was. I think the two best times I was a player was I in set 4. In set 4, I was probably the best player. When I figured out how to play Flex, at that point I reached 1993 LP. And at some point, I want to push 2K LP, so that's one of my favorite moments. In set two, when I first actually like was recognized as being like the best of the game, that was really cool. That was like the part where like I used to be like really like excited, like really naive actually. Like, oh my god, I'm the best player in the world. Look at me, I'm gonna get famous. It's gonna be like, I can retire from here. And then like the fantasy you have when you first get recognized as like being good and people watch you and stuff. That was fun. I think set 4.5, qualifying for Worlds, was really good because set three, I set 3.5. I knew I qualified for Worlds like kind of cheatedly. Like I cheated a little bit. I mean, I was still really good, but like I wasn't actually like much better than everyone else. Like you can't, because I couldn't actually compare my skill to other players because I was approaching the game from a different avenue. So like I wasn't like, oh, I'm better than you. It was just I had a different strategy going to you. But set 4.5, I was like, oh yeah, I am way better than everyone else. Actually, we were doing some VOD reviews of my games, and then we were doing some VOD review of the winner games, which is Kurum. I was doing it with a bunch of high challenger players, and like everybody agreed that like I played way better than Kurum. Like it wasn't even close. Um, Now Kurum played really really well too, but I think that was like the one time I can say like with confidence that um I was probably the best player. And then set five was a mess, and set six. I mean, these days I just play for fun. Kick that game.
Ouch.
Awesome. All right, I think that's all the questions.
Guys, this has been a fantastic experience. I'll speak personally first before I hand it over to Sol to thank you guys as well. But we've been really lucky on this podcast over the last 19 episodes to talk to some amazing people, some amazing OCE, content creators and rank one players and amazing Southeast Asian players like Jose and Keith, who have come on. We had 5 episodes in a row where it was just the two of us, just talking about TFT, and we love those just as much as any guest that we've had on. And we've gone international now, and players like Asa and of course the absolutely fantastic Doa for coming on the podcast have been really really special for us, and a big thank you, Socks, for you for coming on and chatting to us today. We've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thank you. Sol, I will let you say your thanks as well, and let people know where they can find you.
Yeah. Once again, thank you to everyone who follows us. What listens to our pod, shows up all the time. Just sort of shout out to Murray in the chat. Yep, big shout out to Murray Cod in the chat.
I'm cutting that out.
And yeah, again, big thanks to Sux for coming on. At the risk of fanboying too hard, like I already said, you're probably one of the players I've looked up to the most, especially like in sort of coming up, learning the game. And yeah, you mentioned that you don't really like making content, and that's totally fine. But I do really really enjoy like all your content and everything you do put out. So I mean, no pressure to make anything, but everything you do put out, I do enjoy. So yeah, that'll be us. That'll be me mostly. People who want to find me, I'm Soul_TFT on Twitch. Same on Twitter if you want to know when I go live. Stream on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 9 p.m. AEDT. Yeah.
And Socks, I will let you have our final word from you as well. Just obviously, I'm sure 99% of the people who are listening will know who you are. But if they don't, where can people find you?
I stream occasionally. I don't even know what occasionally means. On my stream, Mismatch Socks with 3 S's. So then, what's called Mismatch Socks is taken. There's nothing I can do. Twitch won't help me out here, but it is what it is. What's it called? Yeah. I'll be playing in NA regionals this weekend, so maybe you can catch me there instead.
Wonderful. Guys, this has been the Roll Down TFT podcast. If you stick around after the episode's over, we talk about who's on next week and what we'll be doing next week. So stick around for then. Until then, my name is Cutler, and for Sol and our guest Mismatch Socks, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next time. Bye. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
guys, for being
bye-bye.
here.